Hello everyone, welcome back to Fraud on the Telly. Today I would like to tell you all a story of love, compassion, darkness, light, betrayal, and most importantly of all, redemption. Today, we're talking about the story of Yasha Nydoorin, the Orphan Maker in Critical Role. As always, if you enjoyed the video, learned something new, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to check out The Story of series where we cover lore for many characters across many different stories throughout media. If you enjoy Critical Role content, make sure you check out our other The Life of Critical Role characters. Yasha's story begins in southern Xhorhas, a desolated wasteland in Wildemount, where the betrayer gods called home early on in the calamity. Little is known of Yasha's earliest years as a young girl. Yasha was born in Aasimar, but she did not know her birth parents. She would later be found and raised by the Dolarov barbarian tribe, who would give her the name Yasha. She would be raised by her adopted father Boska and his wife, the current Sky Spear and leader of their tribe. Without any knowledge of her Aasimar heritage, Yasha would only think that she was just different from the other children as she grew up in this barbarian tribe. Here, Yasha would be raised to be a weapon of war. Later on in conversations with the Mighty Nein, she implies that as a young girl, she was forced to fight to the death with many of the other children of the tribe. Upon reaching adulthood, Yasha would undergo a dangerous ritual, a trial called the Marking. When completed, the individual is accepted into the tribe as a full member and warrior. Upon completion, Yasha would take a vow of celibacy until a spouse would be chosen for her by the Sky Spear, and they are given a new name. Here's where Yasha would receive the title Orphan Maker. During Yasha's training for the Marking, she would become friends with a other young girl, Zuala. Over the years of their training, the two would become very close, but the Sky Spear began to suspect that their relationship was something more than just friends. She would tell Yasha not to spend too much time with Zuala. Despite her words, though, Zuala and Yasha would fall in love and marry in secret against the laws of their tribe. Like we said, as is custom for this barbarian tribe, all marked members must wait for the Sky Spear to name them a spouse. Zuala, though, felt like they should confront their matriarch and tell her the news of what they'd done. Possibly they would be accepted and forgiven for their mistake. Yasha, believing in the courage of her love, followed suit, only to watch in horror as Zuala was killed before her. Yasha would burst into a mindless rage, awakening sometime later to a scene of desolation and despair around her. She began to wander the wastelands of Xhorhas in her grief, living life as a vagrant, until finally she was approached by a fiend named Obann. In Yasha's distraught state, she was easily manipulated and swayed by him as she fell under his spell. Obann would use Yasha as a tool of destruction, the tip of the spear pressing onwards towards his nefarious goals. Who knows how much time Yasha spent under Obann's control, possibly years, maybe even longer. Much of these memories would be lost to Yasha, possibly forever. This would all change one day when Yasha, finally wanting an end to Obann's madness, would find herself before an old temple, a forgotten ruin to the Stormlord. She would cry out for help, a storm beginning to coalesce around her. Yasha would finally be free, though she was still empty inside. But now, she was no longer alone in this world. The storm was her ally. The Orphan Maker would journey out into the world, eventually stumbling upon the Fletchling and Moondrop traveling carnival of curiosities, where she would meet and befriend one Mollymauk Tea Leaf. The two would work together for the carnival, Yasha signing on as the carnival's muscle. They would travel to the quiet town of Trostenwald, where they would meet a strange group of fellows in a tavern: Caleb Widowgask, Not the Brave, Fordstone, Beauregard Lionette, and Jester Lavore, the troupe that would become the Mighty Nein. This motley crew would attend the carnival performance, where a strange event took place, an old man transforming into an undead husk. The group would rush together to defeat it, saving many of the people in attendance. The party would continue to work together in an attempt to clear their name. They would eventually find the culprit for these strange events of the carnival, Kyrie the Nurglid. The group would decide to stay together once solving this problem in Trostenwald, venturing forth. Yasha, though, decided she would meet them later on in the Dash, saying she has some unfinished business to take care of. After reconvening in the Empire City of the Dash, the Mighty Nein would find themselves unknowingly in the possession of a Luxem beacon, an ancient relic of the Kreen dynasty. After working some jobs for a dubious man known as the Gentleman, unbeknownst to Jester, her father, the party would venture to the gnomish city of Hupperduke. On the road there, though, Yasha, Ford, and Jester would be kidnapped by a slaver known as Lorenzo, who was really an Oni in disguise. Eventually, the Mighty Nein would free their friends, but it would come at the cost of Mollymock's life. Yasha, devastated at the loss of one of her closest friends, would say it happened again, before breaking down into tears, eventually leaving the party, promising them to meet them again. Sometime later, by sheer coincidence, Yasha would be reunited with the party in Nicodranas. Yasha would tell the group she was looking to seek passage on a ship in order to travel to a place that was shown to her by the Stormlord in her visions. After the party's pirate adventures on the island of Darktoe, Yasha would receive a vision from the Stormlord once again, this time aboard their ship. A great storm began to rage around them. Suddenly, a lightning creature appeared before Yasha on the deck of the ship, attacking her. Yasha would barely be able to defeat this creature, passing the Stormlord's test, earning his respect. After recovering from this battle, Yasha would finally explain some of her past to the Mighty Nein, her marriage to Jwala, and how the Stormlord has brought her clarity throughout all of the pain she has suffered. As the Nine continued to travel, Yasha began to feel more open and comfortable with the party, more than she had with any person for many years now. She found herself becoming friends with these traveling companions, a spark of romance beginning to even take hold between her and Beauregard Lionette. Later, while traveling with the Nine, Yasha would receive a dream, a vision of a strange male with horns and great wings walking among dozens of bodies. Yasha felt that this figure was familiar, but she could not place it. She only felt a cold sensation beginning to grow in her heart. This figure, as we know, is Obann, which up to this point Yasha had blocked much of from her memory. After returning to Xhorhas and speaking with the Bright Queen, the Mighty Nein are tasked with obtaining a potential Empire informant who will be meeting at a local apothecary that night. After spying on this strange, suspicious drow, the stealth mission goes awry as a battle erupts. The drow, upon seeing Yasha, calls her by her tribal name, Orphan Maker. The drow, who we know is Obann in disguise, would escape. Jester sends him a message. He would respond, "If you intend on following me, come north and bring her," her referring to Yasha. The Nine pursue the man northward to a strange ruins, a ruined city in a mountain known as Bazzoxan. Bazzoxan was once a sprawling city of temples to the betrayer gods in the Calamity. Post-Calamity, though, it had been left in ruins, but there still reside a number of infernal doorways buried deep within them. While in one of these deep underground caves, the party are confronted by Obann, who drops his drow disguise, revealing his true fiendish form, greeting Yasha as the Orphan Maker and expressing joy to see her once more. He tells them he is following the orders of the Angel of Iron, a fictional deity which, unbeknownst to Obann, is actually the betrayer god Tharizdun in secret, pulling strings as Obann pulls out a strange stone slab and reads an incantation. Suddenly, a sarcophagus bursts open as an ancient immortal warrior of the Calamity, the Laughing Hand, emerges. A battle erupts as the party manage to greatly wound, even briefly killing Obann, who in desperation before his final moments reaches out to Yasha, casting a spell on her as he turns her once more into his minion. The Orphan Maker, now unleashed, begins to turn on her former allies and friends, cutting them down. Forced to flee, the Mighty Nein escape to the surface, leaving Yasha and the Laughing Hand below with Obann's remains. Yasha's memories of Obann begin to come flooding back, of how he pulled her from her despair, granted her power. Not knowing if she is currently under his control or not, she gathers Obann's remains, venturing forth with the Laughing Hand, eventually resurrecting her former master. After thanking her, Obann takes her and sets out to the city of Zadash to continue his work for this Angel of Irons. Obann's next task was to free Juriel, an ancient drow assassin to Lolth during the Calamity. You see, Obann, as we said, was unknowingly working for Tharizdun, who wished to use Obann to weaken the chains that hold him, binding him in the abyss. Jester would later scry on Yasha and Obann, seeing them in the Cobalt Soul in Zadash, Yasha cutting down numerous of innocent monks. Obann and Yasha would eventually gather what there was of Juriel's remains, reviving this immortal assassin. They would venture to the city of Rexington, heading to the Cathedral of Pelor. There they sought to meet with Cardinal Respa, a devout follower of Obann and the Angel of Irons, as unbeknownst to Obann, one of the chains which binds Tharizdun was beneath this temple. A battle would break out between the Mighty Nein and Obann, Yasha, the Laughing Hand, and Juriel. Caduceus would turn the tides of an almost impossible to win battle as he dispelled the seal on the back of Yasha's neck, setting her free. After combining forces with Yasha, the party managed to turn the tide, Caleb incinerating the Laughing Hand, who is no longer invulnerable as the Mighty Nein located its heart, which was found within the halls of Halas. Obann, in a panic, would attempt to continue his ritual, though it would fail. The terrifying voice of Tharizdun would ring out, saying that Obann must be punished, as the fiend would be violently torn asunder and resewn as Obann the Punished. Together, the Mighty Nein with Yasha would defeat Obann, finally freeing the Orphan Maker forever from his tyranny. Yasha, though, would continue to adventure with the Mighty Nein, growing in power, strength, and relationship. She would continue to grow closer to Beauregard, the two slowly kindling a loving relationship. Yasha as well would become stronger in her relationship with the Stormlord. The Mighty Nein would solve the mystery on Rumblecust, and eventually travel to the lost city of Aor to stop Lucian in the Somnovan, an ancient hive mind of wizards that survived the calamity by transporting part of their city to the Astral Sea. Yasha's deeds and loyalty would eventually land her the role of the Stormlord's champion, the champion of Cord, granting her attunement to a Holy Avenger, a weapon that normally only paladins can wield. After the events in Aor, Yasha and Bo would travel to the Iothia Moorland in search for Zuala's grave, Yasha wanting some closure for her long-distance past. There they would be confronted by warriors of the Dolarub tribe. Yasha and Bo made no attempt to resist when a bolt of lightning dropped from the sky, stopping the warriors' charge. The new Sky Spear would reveal to Yasha that Yasha had in fact killed the previous Sky Spear and many of the members of the tribe on the day that Zuala died. As these memories were lost to Yasha, she told her where the location of Zuala's grave was. After all of this, Yasha and Bo would settle down in Zadash, Yasha content with being the homemaker, while Bo continues her work for the Cobalt Soul. Months would pass until finally the Mighty Nein would need to reunite once more, being called together to aid Ford as the final Cloven Crystal keeping Uk'otoa sealed was stolen from him. They would pursue Uk'otoa's minions but would be unable to stop them from unlocking this final seal. Ford would be forced to make a pact with the betrayer god Zahir in order to gain the power to bind Uk'otoa once more. The Nine returning to Nicodranus, where they would set sail, fighting the Great Leviathan on the sea, locking it away once more. Yasha and Bo would continue their peaceful life in Zadash, Yasha tending to her garden and continuing her study of cooking from her friend Martina Stewart. Yasha is a level 17 barbarian, a fallen Aasimar. She currently wields the Skull Saber, a fire-touch greatsword. Yasha is unique for a barbarian in that her bond with the Storm Father allows her to wield a Holy Avenger, only reserved normally for paladins. As well, she is equipped with the Coat of Crest and Bracers of Defense, along with an elaborate green tattoo made from emerald dust, which grants her +1 dex. Yasha also has a number of feats which make her one of the most deadliest melee fighters, especially within the Mighty Nein, such as Sentinel, Savage Attacker, and Mobile. Here ends the story of everyone's favorite goth barbarian mommy, Yasha the Orphan Maker. As well, let me know in the comments down below what other character from the Critical Role universe, from the universe of Exandria, would you like to see the story of next. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the video, learned something new, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring that tiny bell so my videos go directly into your feed. I want you to check out some of our other Critical Role content, like the story of the Briarwoods or the story of Percy Derolo. Always, guys, thank you so much for watching my video. I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Peace, love, Adu.